If your problems are overwhelming, if you are constantly trying to start on your problems, or you can't decide where to start, I've figured out a multi-part process that has helped me to manage some of the more complicated problems in my life. This is a process for how you can actually start on your problem and pick it apart until what's left over is easy to manage. It's a subtractive process and you can really apply it to any problem. I need to clean in my future studio, and I realized the process that I use for getting through some of these messes is something that applies to a lot of parts of my life. It's essentially taking things in multiple passes and paying attention to one thing. This is the magic table where most messes get made and cleaned up. God dang it. I've more or less cleaned the table off, and I wanted to talk you through my process a little bit before I go any further, just to kind of lay the groundwork for what this is.
Okay, so we want to make our problem smaller. Let's take a pile of sockets to explain. It's hard to tell each socket from one another without reading the label, but we can at least remove the most obvious things, which are the wrench and adapter. Now the problem is a little smaller. We can separate the biggest sockets from the smallest, but at this point the analogy breaks down because we still have to read each label to put it back. So there's no way to be more efficient than that. Let's take a look at a different analogy. We have a pile of 4 different lengths of screws, and we need to separate them to their original lengths. Some of them are very similar in length, but at least we can quickly identify the longest screws and remove those as our first step. Now we have less to think about, and everything is much easier to process.
Okay, so I got some things up on the tape. Now these are going to be pretty easy wins for things to organize because they're more or less organized. I might as well just start moving those things. So what we're trying to do is just process this problem and not process the other problems that we're creating, or we're still solving a problem, but we're focusing our energy here and we're trying to apply our energy in a way that is efficient. We're not going to get stuck on our problems. We have a box of cables, and it's a bit of a mishmash, and I think I do actually have places for all of these, and this has just become like a little accumulator box, so I might leave this for now. There's a whole variety, so I'd have to pull out like 5 different bins. Okay, so that's some progress. Let's focus on this whole area right over here. What I'm doing right now is unpacking this problem a little bit. I'm trying to get a better idea of what's in here, and I'm trying to reduce its density. This is actually some 3D printer stuff, and it needs to go back in a cabinet up there. So it's been pushed this direction. That's part of what I do too. So I'll make a pile and I start breaking it apart, and as I identify things, I push them in the direction that they need to go. So this glass recycling, let's say, it needs to leave the room. So I might push it by the door and leave it by the door. So it's making progress towards its destination, and it's removing the problem that it was causing by being here. All right, now we can get at lids. The gist of my process is I make multiple passes at the problem. Initially, I'm trying to quickly remove elements from that problem. You might call those your quick wins, but I'm not moving each and everything to where it goes. I'm just staying there and kind of breaking down the problem a little bit. So that's kind of your first pass, let's say, is you're trying to find your easy things and you're starting to break apart your process or your problem. So an interesting thing starts to happen as you alleviate some of the stress and confusion you'll start to notice things. And what happened for me is I saw this was kind of tucked away in the side. It's my audio cable box, and there just so happens to be some audio cables in here. So instead of just leaving that alone, I thought, well, I've got it right here. I've made progress with other things, and I can take a second and I can make this particular problem a little bit smaller. Now I've got these cables where they actually need to go, and it has made my other problem of this box a little bit smaller. Now this problem feels a lot easier, and I feel like I can tackle it. So I'm gonna pull the USB cable out because, you know, I'm not super overwhelmed. My brain isn't like over processing. That's letting me focus a little bit more on my actual problem. And you know, I just dealt with the USB cable box. I know exactly where it is. I'll just deal with it now. The room is cleaner. I have a table that I can work on now. I could maybe do some more filming into here and actually leave this set up. It was mostly to cover the mental process that I have learned that has helped me get through these big projects and these big messes. But the fantastic thing is your mind won't be so overwhelmed, at least applying this process to cleaning, that you'll start noticing things and patterns and objects that go together, and you don't have to think about it as much. Like when I found my audio cable box, I was like, oh yeah, it's right here. I'll just put these things together. I'll put this additional thing together. And now the problem, my little micro problem over here, only has 2 problems, and I'm dealing with my problem. I can set it to the side. So how to deal with your complex problems, cleaning edition. See you in the next video.